I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. So today, I am jumping back into some more Project Architect 2, and I will say that we are nearing the end of the pack. Now, I'm in my Applied Energistics hole simply because today, inside of our creative quest, we're going to be working with Applied Energistics, but not the base mod. No. We're actually going to be working with two separate add-ons, or technically three separate add-ons for Applied Energistics, and we're going to be doing some very interesting things with those add-ons. Now, jumping back into our quest, we are working under the in-game quest under the Beyond Creative tab, and we have most of this done, and this is our last thing before we get to the full creative. So all I have to worry about today is getting all of these cells made. So this is the bulk mega cells, and then we also have the mega radioactive storage components. So these are from two different ones. This is from mega cells, so we're going to have to work on getting all of these completed, and we're also going to need these mega bulk storage components, which are fantastic as well, which require these spatial components, and they also require these mega components, which of course are a buildup from the 256K components. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of crafting for that. We're also going to be working with the Flux mod. So Applied Flux I've used a couple of times, but we're actually going to be manipulating the energy and storing it inside of a cell. And I'm going to show you how we can do this, because this cell needs to have 1.1 trillion FE stored in it, and we need 256 of these in order to complete this. So it's going to require a little bit of automation. And then we move on in today. We're also going to be trying to fill this 256 million mega storage cell, which is huge, with all of this information you see right here, which is source. Now, all of this is going to allow you to dabble in different methods of doing things and things you may have never done before within Applied Energistics or ever seen before. And so there's a little bit of tricks to be able to do some of these things, as if you try to do them, for example, like the first way that would come to your head, it might actually take you a lot longer than you might think. For example, this one right here, if you go about it by trying to send this in via normal methods, you'll learn real quick that this is going to take a very long time to fill. But I have a trick up my sleeve that I want to try to be able to get this one completed. Now, before we do that, I think there is something that we actually need to do before we fully dive into more of this Applied Energistics stuff. And that is finally utilize our creative bin. Ah, yes, I actually want to put something in this creative bin that is going to help us tremendously today. And what's going to go into this bin, you might be wondering? Well, I'm going to be placing and locking it in the 256K storage components. So this is actually what I'm going to use for this task. And what this is going to do is it is going to make completing this task way, way simpler in order to get these done. And this task right here is also made basically effortless as well for this. But we basically are going to need, in this case, 6,000 of those presses. And for this one, we are going to need double that, right? We're going to need also 2,000 times 2, so about 4,000 of these presses as well. And then not counting the amount we're going to need here. But essentially, we're saving on this because that's a huge task to make that many 256K storage components. This is also going to help us in this quest right here. Actually, no, not this quest. It's going to help us in making this cell. So this cell requires these mega components, and this requires quite a few of these 256Ks to get up that high. So I figured my best use would be to place the 256K components inside of here, giving us access to an unlimited amount of them, which is going to be very nice. Now, at this point, the only thing that I really have to worry about are these components right here. So I do have these components building up, and they're going to take a little bit of time as we start working on other things to sort of build up. And I don't even know if this amount is going to get us fully done. But yeah, on my other components, I mean, these were set to 25,000 and there's definitely completed here. So now while I'm waiting for those things to process up, what we can actually start working on is the applied flux. So this one right here, 256 of these storage cells. Now, we don't have the infrastructure set up yet, so this will actually kind of be a tutorial as well on how we actually set up the applied flux mod. And so applied flux is pretty darn cool, allowing you to power machines through your applied energistic system. So technically anything that would have been connected here, we could have been sending power to them instead of using these gates. You could tell your interface, for example, to export through an induction card power, and so it would. But how do you get power into the applied energistic system? Well, actually, that's where this storage cell kind of comes into play, because if you're going to insert power into your AE system, you need somewhere to store it, and the place you would store it would be from within inside one of these FE storage cells. Now, to speed up some of these processors, which we're going to be making, I did go ahead and move some of the inscriber recipes that were just for very specific items to being processed inside of the pulverizer, because this is going to be incredibly fast. For example, the applied energistics Flux dust is being produced here, and also the ender pearl dust, which we don't need a lot of ender pearl dust, but it is there. But we definitely need a lot of the Flux for many of the crafts and processors. So those are now flowing a bit faster. We're already up to like 4,000 of these processors. But let's go ahead and now make a 256K disk from this mod. So it is going to take a little bit of time to craft this up for sure. You can see all of the different processes here. Like looks like 20 seconds or so to do all of the crafts, which are definitely required for this. So that is now processing up. I keep making that pun. It's so bad. But once we have this, we can actually put this to the test. Now, while that's crafting, the Flux Accessor is actually how we link our power to our applied energistic system. And it's basically like the energy acceptor. I mean, it even uses the energy acceptor in its craft. It's like an energy acceptor, except this is how you insert the power into your cells, or one of the ways that you can do it. Because you can also use an induction card, and you can use, for example, an insert, or you can use an interface to also send that power in. Now back in my power area, I know I've already made one, but I'm gonna make one exclusively for this setup. And this is going to be creative power. So I'm making another creative Mekanism power cube. And what I want to use this for is to send this directly to the applied energistic system. And so now the goal here is to take this cell and fill it to its entire buffer size, maxed out, and then we can actually submit that. And we need to do this a few times, so we should be able to hopefully automate this process by piping in and out of a disk drive. Now, how quickly is this actually going to fill up? Well, that's what I'm about to find out. Hopefully near instantaneously. That would be the idea, especially with our creative power. So I'll take the creative energy cube, and I'm going to place it directly on top here, and just make sure that it is set to output and auto eject. And so it should be infinitely sending power to our accessor here. And as soon as I put this in, it should instantly fill. That is what I want to see. Now, can we insert power out of, or pull this and send out? That's kind of what I want to see. And I think we can. So we basically would take a pipe, right? And a barrel, preferably like 2 inventories, right? We'll take an inventory here and one here. This will be a send and this should be a pull, and we should be able to set a filter and be very specific with said filter. So with the pipes mod, we need the advanced pipe upgrade for this. And in this, we'll have to set a very specific filter. So let's pull that out, grab a wrench, and I'm going to place this in, and I want this filter, I want to add it, and I want it to match this MBT. So match the exact MBT data, which should be this right here. Hit submit. And now we should be able to pull the item out, but only once it is filled. We should be able to also auto insert, I think, into here, just like that. And you can see it automatically, it's pulled out. So this is how we're going to automate this. And now we need those disks, right? So Flux, and the process is going to be basically repeating this that many times. So let's go ahead and craft another one. Like I said, these 256 are going to take a while to actually craft up, and we currently do not have enough. So how many are we going to actually need for this? Actually, we already have the amount needed to craft this, so not too bad. We just need all this charged redstone, and if you remember, the charged redstone I think is going to be our major problem here. because we need to send this. And unfortunately, this does not have an auto send feature. So I have to basically pipe it back in, but we could attach multiple chargers to this one pattern provider, which is doing this. Now I still have to wait a little bit. I should have, what I should have done is I should have modified this to be where it was at originally. Like I should have set these also to the same level that these were at whenever I did the bottom ones, but I didn't. But it is working its way through there, and it will be there like before long for sure. So Flux, you can see these are definitely going up, and I am processing, I believe, 16 at a time. So we should have them before long. It's just a matter of kind of waiting. This has a little bit of wait time because it has to dump all of the ingredients and then process them up. And then it also has to charge. So I added more of the chargers. But outside of that, things should be good. I can go ahead and add a task screen here. And this should allow me now to get these cells in here. So I do the cells for this 256 right there. And now whenever I put this cell in, it should auto send once filled directly in here, which is perfect. So I do have 3 more cells, and we can test this out. That goes in, instantly gets charged up, and that is beautiful. Oh, that is perfect. This would, by the way, take quite a while if you did not hook up a creative energy cube to this, by the way. Now, I know at this point you're probably like, Chosen, this room is an absolute mess, and well, yeah, I know. This is literally the mess room for sure. So now while I'm waiting for these to process, I do want to show off a little bit more of this applied flux, as I've really come to learn how this mod works recently. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So inside of here, we should see energy in here. I think it's just called flux, right? Or FE? FE. So it's just called FE, right? And we have power actually in here. And what I recommend doing is actually hitting A on this, and you can store it. Now, unfortunately, over here it says wrap generic stack. It used to show up, but JEI has been updating recently. And so this has been one of the things that definitely has not shown correctly. But FE, I think also might be in here. Actually, no. So yeah, the Flux Mod, it's supposed to show up in here, but it does not. But this is one way that you can get this to work. Now, if you had a battery connected, for example, like this, and you attached an export bus to it and a cable, you can actually send power to this. So right now it's not exporting anything, but if I drag this in, it's now going to start to send FE, or should start to send FE. It's not going to send it directly from this accessor, but if I disable this real quick by doing that, and I take my disk, so Flux, let's craft that real quick. Should literally take a second. Perfect. And then we store this. That now has power, and you can see this is now going to start sending out that power, just like it would send out items with our export bus. Now, to be able to send power through, for example, an interface, or to send power through a pattern provider, all you would need to do to be able to do that, to send to certain machines, is place an induction card inside of here. And so by doing that, you can see the induction card connected to an interface just instantly fills that battery. It's very quick. And through a setup like that, I honestly don't know what the actual transfer limit is, because that seemed like it was basically instant. Now, the only thing I haven't figured out how to do with this mod is how to power things from the importer. So if you had just an importer attached to a machine, I don't know if you can actually power it directly from the importer, unfortunately. But with that, I am slowly but surely getting all of this done. So we are going to need about 4,000 more of these processors built up before we have the 256 that we need, or slightly fewer than that, about 340 or 3,400 basically left. So while we're waiting on those to build up, we can actually work on our next applied energistics problem to solve. And now this is going to involve filling this 256 million mega source storage cell. Now, just from looking at it, you may be thinking that, well, you're going to have to just kind of take your creative source jar, for example, and fill this up. Fill this disk up slowly but surely by using the energistics add-on. There is an R's energistics add-on right here. So maybe thinking, well, you're going to have to fill this source jar and it'll pipe into your applied energistics system to fill it up. But that's not the case because you can actually make a creative ME source cell. And this is very, very powerful for this. Now, to make this creative source cell, I am going to need a 256K source storage cell. Very, very simple to make. You just need to set up the automation for this recipe right here. Very simple. And now I have that storage cell. Very nice. So let's also get our star. So we need another star. Man, I already got over 1,000 built up of these stars again. And then we're going to need a creative source jar. So creative source jar to do this. And we just need to use an inscriber, preferably one down here. And we are going to place these items in. And then that should give us the creative ME source cell. So this thing is very powerful for the completion of this quest right here. Now, making the cell should be a little bit easier on us, as to make this, we just need a mega source housing. So, and then we also need our very large storage component. But like I said, this has been made quite easy, considering we now start at 256 instead of all the way down at 1K, which saves a tremendous amount of crafting operations. So, we just need to craft this. So I should be able to do that. It's going to start with our base one. I set up the automations, and we set this up a while ago, and I tell you what, this has been one of the biggest time savers. Just simply being able to create the recipe, put it in the pattern provider, and then it create the recipe like this. Oh, it's so nice. Such a nice little simple automation, just utilizing the modular router setup down here. So now that I have this, we need to make the largest mega size, which is going to be this one right here, which is the 256 million storage. And this requires that one 256 million storage component. So let's go ahead and get that crafted, and we start this up. And like I said, this should be pretty straightforward. Very simple to craft because of that creative bin. Otherwise, it would actually take a tremendous, like I said, a tremendous amount of time to craft that out without doing it, I guess, with refined storage, which is a way you could have crafted it. But there we go. So I'm going to put this together. And now that we have this, we need to find a way to get the information out of this creative source cell and send it into this source cell. And believe it or not, there is an easy way to do this within Applied Energistics. And I'm going to show you how simple this actually is. So what we need to do is create a sub network. And so what I'm going to do is place a quartz or place a flux cable right here. And I'm going to separate this with the fiber. So now we have a separated network that's just powered, because this is going to use some power. And then what we're going to do is place in an ME IO port. And then between this, or actually just connected, we are going to place a disk drive. So we have a separated network that has our disk drive in here. And all we need to do now is say, hey, transfer the contents from this drive, from a disk that's in this drive, transfer it to the cell that we put in here. So if all works, we should hopefully be able to take this, place it in here, the creative one, and then place this cell in to then be filled. Now, I think there is a much faster way of filling this, technically, by doing a little bit of finagling with how we actually export things. Now, in a way to make this faster, you can see it right here. So this is the extended version of this. So actually, let's take this out, take our speed upgrades out of here, and we'll break this down. And what I'm going to do is place a new one in and make sure it is set to taking from disk, place our speed upgrades in there, and then put this in. And yes, that filled it basically instantly. So yeah, that is a way to fill the source, and without taking a ton of time, because I've seen several people actually struggling with this particular quest right here, thinking that you have to go about it by actually filling it up with a source jar. But what this really is a check to see if you actually know how the IOs kind of function within Applied Energistics. And if you didn't know, now you know how to use the ME external IO port, or just the IO port in general, allowing you to transfer contents from your disks between your storages or into multiple storages. And now with that done, we can go ahead and pop in here and we can submit. And beautiful, that quest is now done. I think now is the time that I should be able to get the hyper fluxing ready to go for that quest. So we only need 256 of the 256K ME FE storage cells. We already have 5 of them, so it'll be the 251, which should be all we actually need. And I can go ahead and start that craft, and that shouldn't take any time at all, really, to craft all this down, since I have the majority of most of the items. Yeah, it shouldn't even have to craft. Well, actually, you know what? Is it technically crafting these? No. Actually, is it? Yeah, it's in the works. But this right here, it says it has 2 availables, but scheduled here. So it's producing these, but it hasn't started producing the redstone crystals. And 81,000 is actually a lot. I didn't even account for that. Oh boy, that is going to be dumping so many items down into here for that operation. Anyways, while that is doing that, I can go ahead and start working on this. So these 2 right here, we might be able to do simultaneously. And so the way that I'm going to handle this is with a cable, of course. So let's grab a cable, and we're going to want to make sure that this is not connected over here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these for right now, and just get my 2 cables connected like so. And then we're going to need to export, for example, this into this one, and then I can put a crafting card in here to then request those items, and this one over here, and a crafting card to request those items. And this should just start to ramp up and should get these items crafted up and ready to go. I don't think speed upgrades are really going to help with this. It might be best for me to possibly do this by hand. Oh no, the crafting does increase. Oh, very nice. So yeah, the faster these go, the faster they will produce. And for some reason, this is stuck on 1. I don't know why. I could probably actually check. What is it hanging on? Okay, so there must be a recipe kind of broke here. It's probably the... Oh, that's right. It's waiting on the Flux, because the Flux is currently processing up for this craft that we're working on right here. But it does seem like this one is running very, very well. And this is kind of good, because these right here are not going to be too difficult because of us using that 256,000 mega storage component. I mean, honestly, that's what's making these crafts so much easier. And I'm so glad I saved that bin specifically for this item. Also, by the way, this is the madness that I was talking about. Yeah. By the way, it will catch up. So like the smaller the barrel that you set up, the more it will send these items out. So like when this maxes out, what'll happen is it'll jump through the whole list here. So it's not too bad. It actually doesn't hold too many items in here, and it is actively crafting. You can see the sparks down there, and it is actively going up, even though we can't exactly see all of that happening. It is happening, believe it or not. You can see the value going there. Oh, look at there. The task just finished for this one. So we basically have another one down. Now, the Flux in this craft was definitely holding me back, so I ended up making the ultimate crushing factory here, and I'm able to scale this up to 64 times by connecting the energy cube connected directly up to it. And this is producing insanely fast. You can see this is going up faster than it's actually rendering there. And so I was able to get to that number way, way faster this way. Yeah, honestly, too fast. I'm gonna turn that off. I don't need that much anymore. But this is now absolutely just flooding in. So this is now working so much better. And we can see this number climbing much, much faster now. It's going to be sitting here for about an hour if I didn't do that. So I'm glad I did that. So with that happening, this is now done. So now with these cells all crafted up, I should be able to now connect this. I know I say should a lot, but sometimes I never know, right? So we need let's actually grab the cell out of here. And there we go. Perfect. So I'll place this cell in here. And that should now start sending the cells in. And as soon as they're filled, they should get sent out. Oh, unless this actually needs to be fuzzy. And I think it does. Because there was some data that was put on it whenever I... You know what? Actually, no. No. I can probably just use this information. So I just hit A while hovering over this to store it over here. And then I drag this one into the slot. And now that one works? No. Actually, no. Okay, so I do need the fuzzy. And that should hopefully get us through. So the fuzzy card should make it so that way it doesn't check any MBT data or anything like that. And there it goes. Okay. So it just sent 1, and it's going to send 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 like that. So yeah, and it's going to ramp up because of course that's how the exporter works. But that's it. That was a huge crafting operation, by the way. And if it wasn't for this setup right here, I don't think it would be very easy to do. So definitely coming up with a clever solution for getting the items in world is definitely worth doing. But here we go. We now have that ready to go. We can ramp it up. We can make it as fast as we want. And it can do multiple disks in here at one time because of that creative energy cube powering those up. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Loving this. This is fantastic. This whole thing is probably filled, isn't it? Yeah, so we can make it even faster by putting the upgrade in here to fill it entirely. It's filling these and then instantly filling them with power. And voila, we are now done with that quest. That is ridiculous. And with that, we've gotten all of the applied energistics stuff out of the way. My goodness, look at those tasks complete. That makes me feel pretty darn good. And these were pretty huge tasks. So, and I would say definitely advanced on all of the crafting operations that actually have to take place in order for you to even start worrying about crafting these. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you learned something new about applied energistics or about applied flux, which is a relatively new mod. And with that, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. I really do appreciate you guys, and of course look forward to seeing you in the next episode, which should be our episode where we complete the creative section and finally gain access to all the creative items we could ever want. But with that, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Zuck Thick. I think I said that right. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate it. Definitely join the Discord if you haven't already, and or check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, where I do live stream about 3 days a week as of right now, playing some Vault Hunters at the moment. So definitely be sure to check that out. And guys, with that, I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.